In this lesson, we're going to be animating our sea turtle. Okay, so to bring our sea turtle into our comp, we need to go over to our infographic split comp and come up here to the top where that sea turtle is sitting. He's only one layer, so we'll just select that and hit Control-C to copy. Then let's come back out to our main Coral infographic, and we'll just come all the way up to the top and hit Control-V to paste him in here. Now, whenever the print infographic was created, we didn't need to see this back half of the turtle. So that part of the turtle wasn't designed. So we're not going to be using it in our animation either. Let's just scale him up, and we'll just have him kind of peek down from the top here so that that part isn't visible. It's just a time-saving trick to not have to illustrate all of those individual pieces when you're not even going to use all of them. So we can use that to our advantage too. Now I'm going to go ahead and we'll turn on our continuously rasterized switch just to make him a little more clear. Let's also turn on our motion blur switch, and in a moment we're going to be needing our 3D Z position handle, so I'll just go ahead and turn on this 3D switch while we're at it. Now let's go ahead and figure out where we want to introduce the turtle on our timeline. So I'm just going to hold Control to listen to audio while I scrub.
Part of the reef ecosystem.
Okay, so I want the turtle to come in while he's talking about this. So I'm just going to start right about here. The text is already in place. So right about there, just as that green fish is leaving. So let's go ahead and hit the P key to bring up the turtle's position. And we'll go ahead and set a keyframe. Then we'll just pull this forward a bit. And let's pull him up and out of the frame. So he's going to come into the frame right as the green fish leaves, and then he's kind of sitting here. Now let's figure out where we want him to exit. So I'm going to do the same thing, holding Control to scrub my audio.
Species of plants and animals are part of the reef ecosystem.
So right about here, right is whenever he starts talking again about something new. So we need him to start transitioning off before he ever actually says that new sentence about coral. So let's see. Right about here, at just about at 11 seconds. Let's go ahead. We'll set a position keyframe, which is going to just be basically the same position he's in now. Then we'll pull that backwards so that he begins transitioning out a little bit before this point, because at this point in our timeline we want him to be completely gone. And then we can just pull him up just like this so he's back out of frame. So let's just kind of scrub through that. You can see what that looks like. And we can pull this backwards here and do a quick RAM preview just to watch the whole thing.
Species of plants and animals are part of the reef ecosystem.
Okay, so that looks really good, and I think we could even make it look better by adding some easy ease to these middle keyframes. Because you can't see him when he's out of frame, we don't really need to worry about adding any kind of ease to those other keys, and in fact, because it's such a close amount of space, it might end up not making it look good. So we'll just select both of those, go to Animation, Keyframe Assistant, and choose Easy Ease. And that just looks a little more natural. So something I want to do to add even more motion to him is to use an expression just to make him kind of wiggle a little bit and maybe look like he's floating. So let's go ahead and twirl those options down. It's going to be the Z rotation. So he's going to be moving just kind of like this, just like he's floating in the water. So to add an expression to that, we'll go ahead and do our Alt click on the Z rotation stopwatch. And then we're just going to be using the wiggle expression. So you might already be familiar with that. It's really easy. You can learn it now if you don't know it. Just type in wiggle, all lowercase, and then an open parenthesis, and then we're going to add some numbers. Now we're going to add 2 numbers to this, and the first number says how many times we want him to wiggle within 1 second. So I'll go ahead and put 2. So we're going to wiggle 2 times per second. And then we'll put a comma, And our next number is how many degrees we want him to rotate in those 2 seconds. So if you've ever used the wiggle expression before, maybe with the position, if you put a small number in there for that second number, for the amount of either pixels or rotation that he's going to do, if you're working with pixels, that number probably needs to be bigger for it to be visible. But if you're working with rotation, rotation only has 360 degrees. So a 2 for rotation looks much different than a 2 as in just moving 2 pixels for a position. So you have to kind of keep that in mind. You know, putting a 12 here is going to look crazy because it's going to rotate actually 12 degrees, not just 12 pixels. So let's just put something small in here, like a 3. So he'll move 3 degrees every 2 seconds. Then we need to put a close parenthesis to close that expression. Then we can just click anywhere. And now you can see we've got this nice little rotation that he's doing. Just really makes it look like he's kind of floating there a little bit better. And if you wanted to, you could even add a few more position keyframes. Maybe kind of move him up over here, and then maybe back down a little bit lower. Now you don't want to go too low because we don't want to see that shell, but you can just kind of see he just looks like he's sort of floating in the water. Really, really nice. And we'll do a RAM preview just to watch that with audio.
Species of plants and animals are part of the reef ecosystem. Species of plants and animals are part of the reef ecosystem.
Awesome. So now that we have him animated, we've got the wiggle and the position, I'd like to move on and add another animal to this comp. And we're going to do that in our next lesson, but just to give you a little preview, I want to bring the fish in, just kind of a little yellow fish that's going to be looking at the turtle, and they're almost like they're just kind of crossing paths. And maybe the little fish can have kind of a, you know, act like a little Napoleon syndrome, like he's smaller than the big turtle, but maybe he'll kind of run into the turtle a little bit, like you're in my way. So, you know, doing little things like that with the secondary pieces is what is going to make your infographic interesting. It's what's going to bring it to life. This is part of that transition from this bit of text to the next part of our animation. So you want to make it fun. You want to make it enjoyable to watch, and adding little signatures like that are really going to just enhance your details and make it feel a lot more personalized. So in our next lesson, we're going to start on that animation of that fish, and it's going to be really similar to the way that we animated our green fish. So nothing too out of the ordinary. There's just going to be a few more keyframes involved. So stick around and you'll be able to see how we do that in our next lesson.